Ladies and gentlemen, let's start with a fundamental question. What exactly are hybrid animals? The term hybrid refers to the offspring produced when two different species interbreed. While many people think of hybrids as something rare or unnatural, they are actually a natural part of evolution. Sometimes, hybridization happens due to environmental changes, forced proximity, or even human intervention, and it often leads to the creation of animals that possess unique characteristics inherited from both parent species. Hybrid animals can be found across different ecosystems, from the deep ocean to the highest mountains. Some are the result of human breeding, such as mules, born from a horse and a donkey. However, in the wild, hybridization occurs when animals from different species, but closely related lineages, come into contact due to overlapping habitats. This has always happened in nature, but today, it's becoming more common in the northern regions due to climate change. One fascinating aspect of hybrid animals is that they can sometimes be stronger, faster, or more adaptable than their parent species. These new combinations of genetics can lead to unexpected survival advantages, making hybrids more likely to thrive in changing environments. However, hybridization can also pose risks, such as disrupting ecosystems and threatening the survival of pure species. The key question we must ask ourselves is this: if hybrid animals continue to emerge and thrive, could they one day take over the northern wilderness? Could they become the dominant species in places where their parents once ruled separately? To answer this, we must examine the role of climate change, species migration, and the consequences of genetic blending in the animal kingdom. As we move forward in this discussion, let's explore how global warming is accelerating this process and why hybrid animals may no longer be a rare phenomenon, but the new rulers of the North. Point 1. Grolar bear, grizzly bear. One of the most famous examples of hybrid animals in the north is the Grolar bear, also called the grizzly bear. This hybrid is a mix between a polar bear and a grizzly bear, two species that historically lived in separate regions. However, as climate change melts Arctic ice, polar bears are being forced inland, while grizzly bears are expanding their range northward due to warmer temperatures. As a result, these two species are now encountering each other more frequently, leading to interbreeding. Grolar bears inherit traits from both parents, making them uniquely suited to survive in warming northern climates. They have the strong front paws and hunting instincts of a polar bear, which help them catch prey in open areas. At the same time, they possess the powerful jaws and adaptability of a grizzly bear, allowing them to eat a more varied diet, including plants, berries, and small mammals. Unlike pure polar bears, which rely heavily on sea ice for hunting, Grolar bears can survive on land for longer periods, making them better suited for a world where ice is disappearing. 2. Coywolf. Another striking example of a hybrid animal is the coywolf, a mix between a coyote and a wolf. Wolves are traditionally larger, more powerful hunters that rely on teamwork, while coyotes are smaller, more adaptable scavengers that thrive in a variety of environments. As human activity, deforestation, and urban expansion have altered landscapes, the ranges of wolves and coyotes have started to overlap. Coywolves inherit a unique combination of traits from both species. They have the strength and hunting skills of a wolf, but they also retain the intelligence and adaptability of a coyote. This has allowed them to thrive not only in forests but also in urban areas, where they have been seen hunting small animals, scavenging food, and even coexisting with human populations. Unlike pure wolves, which tend to avoid human settlements, coywolves are highly adaptable, making them one of the most successful hybrid species in North America. 3. Red fox and Arctic fox hybrids. With rising temperatures, red foxes are moving northward into Arctic fox territory, leading to interbreeding between the two species. The Arctic fox is a cold-adapted species with thick fur, short ears, and a small body that conserves heat efficiently. In contrast, the red fox is larger, more aggressive, and better suited to warmer climates. When these two species interbreed, their offspring often inherit mixed traits that can be both beneficial and problematic. Some hybrids have the red fox's size advantage, but lack the Arctic fox's dense fur, making them less suited for extreme cold. Additionally, because red foxes are more dominant, They often outcompete Arctic foxes for food and territory, leading to a decline in pure Arctic fox populations. This hybridization raises concerns about the long-term survival of Arctic foxes, which are already facing challenges due to climate change. 4. Narwhal-beluga hybrid Narluga. Hybridization is not limited to land animals. It is also happening in the ocean. One of the most fascinating marine hybrids is the Narluga, a cross between a narwhal and a beluga whale. These two Arctic whale species have overlapping habitats, and researchers have discovered individuals with traits of both species, indicating that interbreeding is occurring. Narwhals are known for their long, spiral tusks and deep diving abilities, while belugas are social, highly vocal whales with rounded heads. Narluga hybrids exhibit a blend of these characteristics, sometimes having partial tusks or unique skull shapes. Scientists are still studying how these hybrids behave and whether they have survival advantages, but their existence highlights how climate change is bringing even marine species together in new ways. 5. Eastern coyote, coy-dog hybrid. Another lesser-known but significant hybrid is the eastern coyote, also known as a coy dog, which is a mix between a coyote and a domestic dog. While coyotes and dogs do not commonly interbreed in the wild, habitat loss and human expansion have increased encounters between them. Eastern coyotes, in particular, have been found to carry dog genes, making them genetically distinct from their western coyote counterparts. Coy dogs tend to be larger and stronger than regular coyotes, with a mix of wild and domestic traits. Some are more comfortable around human settlements, while others retain the hunting instincts of their wild ancestors. Their ability to adapt to various environments makes them a growing presence in both rural and urban areas. Why these hybrids matter? The increasing number of hybrid animals in the north is reshaping ecosystems. Some of these hybrids, like the Grolar bear and coywolf, have advantages that help them survive in changing climates, making them more likely to thrive in the future. Others, like red fox-Arctic fox hybrids, could contribute to the decline of weaker or less adaptable species. As we continue to see more cases of interbreeding, it raises important questions about the future of wildlife in the north. Are hybrids the key to survival in a rapidly changing world, or are they a sign that certain species are losing their natural identity? Scientists are still studying these changes, but one thing is clear. The rise of hybrid animals is not just a rare occurrence. It may be the new normal. Climate change is one of the most significant forces reshaping our planet, and its impact on wildlife is undeniable. Over the past century, global temperatures have steadily risen, causing dramatic shifts in ecosystems, weather patterns, and animal behaviors. While we often hear about melting ice caps, rising sea levels, and extreme weather events, one of the less discussed consequences of climate change is how it is driving species to migrate into new territories, sometimes into regions where they have never lived before. The northern regions of the world, including the Arctic and subarctic areas, are warming at twice the rate of the global average. This rapid warming is causing fundamental changes in the landscape. Ice that has existed for thousands of years is vanishing, tundras are turning into forests, and food sources are shifting. These changes are forcing animals to move northward in search of food, suitable habitat, and safer breeding grounds. For species that were once separated by climate conditions, these migrations are bringing them into direct contact with each other. Take, for example, the polar bear and the grizzly bear. Traditionally, polar bears have been the undisputed rulers of the Arctic, thriving in the cold environment and relying on sea ice to hunt seals. Grizzly bears, on the other hand, have historically dominated the forests and grasslands further south. However, as Arctic ice continues to melt at alarming rates, polar bears are being forced to travel inland in search of food. At the same time, warming temperatures are allowing grizzly bears to expand their range further north. The result? These two species, which once had minimal interaction, are now encountering each other more frequently, and in some cases, they are mating, leading to the emergence of Grolar bears or Pizzly bears, a hybrid that blends the features of both parents. Similar patterns are happening with other species as well. The red fox, which thrives in warmer environments, is moving northward and competing with the Arctic fox, sometimes even interbreeding. Coyotes are expanding their range, overlapping with wolf populations and giving rise to coywolves, a hybrid species that is smarter, more adaptable, and more versatile in hunting than either of its parent species. These shifts raise important questions about the future of wildlife in the north. As climate change accelerates, more and more animals will be forced to move, leading to increased hybridization. The consequences of this process are complex. Some hybrids may be better suited to survive in changing conditions, while others may struggle to find their place in the ecosystem. But one thing is clear. Climate change is not just altering landscapes, it is directly reshaping the very composition of the animal kingdom. The North is no longer the isolated, frozen wilderness it once was. It is becoming a melting pot of species, where new hybrid animals are emerging as a response to the environmental chaos unfolding around them. As climate change continues to reshape ecosystems, one of the most dramatic effects we are witnessing is the large-scale migration of species toward the northern regions of the planet. For centuries, the Arctic and other northern territories have been home to animals specifically adapted to cold environments, such as polar bears, Arctic foxes, caribou, and reindeer. However, rising global temperatures are forcing many species to shift their ranges northward in search of suitable habitats, changing the dynamics of these fragile ecosystems. In the past, the extreme cold of the north acted as a natural barrier, keeping many species confined to their traditional territories. However, as winters become milder and summers last longer, animals that once thrived in more temperate climates are now able to survive further north. This shift is happening at an unprecedented rate. For example, grizzly bears, which were once restricted to forests and grasslands further south, are now being spotted in Arctic regions where only polar bears used to roam. Similarly, moose populations are moving into tundra landscapes where they previously could not survive due to the harsher climate and lack of vegetation. One of the main reasons for this mass migration is the changing availability of food. Many animals depend on specific prey, plants, or hunting conditions that are now disappearing from their native habitats due to warming temperatures. As a result, they are forced to follow their food sources into new territories. For example, many species of fish are now migrating northward to cooler waters, causing seals, seabirds, and even whales to follow their prey. This creates a domino effect, where entire food chains are shifting northward, bringing predators and competitors into contact with species they never encountered before. The expansion of forests into previously frozen tundra regions is also playing a major role in species migration. As trees and shrubs begin to grow in what was once an open, icy landscape, animals that rely on forested environments, such as deer, lynx, and red foxes, are finding new opportunities to move north. This is a significant problem for species like the Arctic fox, which is now facing growing competition from its larger and more aggressive cousin, the red fox. In many areas, the red fox is outcompeting the Arctic fox for food and territory, leading to a decline in Arctic fox populations. Additionally, some species are not only migrating but also interbreeding with their new neighbors. Wolves and coyotes are an example of this, as their expanding ranges now overlap more than ever before. This has resulted in the rise of the coywolf, a hybrid species that combines the intelligence of a coyote with the strength and hunting abilities of a wolf. These hybrids are proving to be more adaptable than their purebred counterparts, allowing them to thrive in diverse environments, including northern regions where they were once rare. The increasing movement of species toward the north is creating a new ecological reality, one where animals that have never coexisted before are now competing for food, territory, and survival. Some species may be pushed to extinction, while others may evolve through hybridization to become the dominant animals of the north. The consequences of this mass migration are still unfolding, but one thing is certain. The wildlife of the northern regions is undergoing a transformation that will redefine the balance of nature in the years to come. As climate change forces animals to migrate northward, species that were once separated by natural barriers are now coming into contact for the first time in history. This increased interaction is leading to a rise in interbreeding, where closely related species mate and produce hybrid offspring. In the past, Geographical boundaries such as vast frozen tundras, dense forests, and powerful rivers kept different species apart, ensuring that each evolved within its own ecological niche. However, with those barriers disappearing, the chances for interbreeding are increasing, leading to the emergence of hybrid animals that may soon redefine northern ecosystems. Interbreeding occurs when two species share similar genetic structures and reproductive behaviors, allowing them to produce offspring that carry traits from both parents. While hybrids have always existed in nature, the rate of hybridization is accelerating due to climate-driven shifts in habitats. Animals that once had little to no interaction are now being forced to coexist, compete, and sometimes even mate, leading to the birth of new species that could be better suited for survival in an ever-changing world. One of the most well-known examples of this phenomenon is the Grolar bear, or Pizzly bear, a hybrid between a polar bear and a grizzly bear. In the past, polar bears lived almost exclusively in the Arctic, hunting seals on the sea ice, while grizzly bears thrived in more temperate environments, relying on berries, fish, and small mammals for food. However, as the Arctic ice continues to melt, polar bears are being pushed inland, where they are encountering grizzly bears more frequently. Since the two species share a common ancestor and have similar mating behaviors, they are now interbreeding, creating hybrids that inherit traits from both parents. These hybrids tend to be more aggressive, stronger, and better adapted to warmer climates than polar bears, yet they retain some of the endurance and hunting skills of their Arctic ancestors. Another example is the coywolf, a hybrid of a coyote and a wolf. In the past, coyotes primarily lived in open grasslands and deserts, while wolves roamed dense forests and colder regions. However, as deforestation and urbanization have altered landscapes, coyotes have expanded their range, bringing them into contact with wolves. The result? A hybrid that is smarter than a wolf, more adaptable than a coyote, and capable of thriving in both wild and urban environments. Coywolves are now spreading rapidly across North America, demonstrating how hybrid species can sometimes outcompete their purebred counterparts. The red fox and Arctic fox provide another striking case of interbreeding in the north. Traditionally, the Arctic fox thrived in the frigid conditions of the far north, while the red fox remained in warmer regions. However, as temperatures rise and forests expand into tundra areas, red foxes are moving northward and competing with Arctic foxes for food and territory. In some cases, interbreeding has occurred, producing hybrids that blur the genetic lines between these two species. However, because the red fox is larger and more dominant, it often outcompetes its Arctic cousin, raising concerns about the long-term survival of the Arctic fox in a warming world. The increase in hybridization is not just limited to mammals. Birds, fish, and even insects are experiencing similar genetic blending as their habitats shift and overlap. For example, some bird species that were once separated by seasonal migration patterns are now remaining in the same regions year-round, leading to crossbreeding. Similarly, as ocean temperatures rise, fish species that once occupied different waters are now interbreeding, leading to the emergence of hybrids with new traits that may help them survive in warming seas. These new hybrids are not just genetic experiments of nature, they represent a fundamental shift in the evolution of species. In some cases, hybridization could lead to the emergence of stronger, more adaptable animals that can cope with the challenges of climate change better than their parent species. In other cases, hybridization could lead to the loss of unique genetic traits that have defined certain species for thousands of years. The question that remains is whether these hybrids will be temporary anomalies, or if they will become the dominant species of the North, shaping the future of wildlife in ways we are only beginning to understand. One of the most fascinating aspects of hybrid animals is how they often inherit survival advantages from both parent species. In a world where climate change, habitat loss, and human expansion are drastically altering ecosystems, hybrids may have a better chance of thriving than their purebred counterparts. By combining the traits of two different species, hybrids can develop new abilities that help them hunt more efficiently, survive in diverse environments, and adapt to changing conditions. In the northern regions, where ice is melting, forests are expanding, and animal territories are shifting, These advantages may allow hybrid animals to outcompete and eventually replace pure species. 1. Physical strength and size. Many hybrid animals grow larger and stronger than their parent species, giving them an advantage in hunting, defending territory, or surviving extreme conditions. A prime example of this is the Grolar bear, Pizzly bear, a hybrid of a polar bear and a grizzly bear. Size and strength. Grolar bears tend to be larger than grizzlies, but smaller than polar bears, with muscular builds that make them powerful predators on both land and ice. Fur and adaptability. While polar bears have pure white fur suited for Arctic camouflage, Grolar bears inherit a mix of white and brown fur, allowing them to blend into both tundra landscapes and forested regions. This makes them less dependent on sea ice, giving them a wider range to roam and hunt. Diet flexibility. Unlike polar bears, which rely almost entirely on seals for food, Grolar bears can eat a wider variety of foods, including berries, fish, and small mammals, an adaptation that may become crucial as the Arctic ecosystem continues to change. 2. Intelligence and problem-solving skills. Hybrid animals often display higher intelligence and problem-solving abilities, allowing them to be more adaptable than their parent species. This is particularly evident in the coywolf, a mix of coyote, wolf, and domestic dog genes. Smarter hunting strategies. Wolves are known for their strong pack hunting skills, while coyotes are independent, quick thinkers. The coywolf combines both traits, meaning it can hunt alone or work in small groups, making it an incredibly versatile predator. Urban adaptation. Unlike wolves, which tend to avoid human areas, coywolves are comfortable living near cities and towns. They have been observed crossing roads safely, avoiding traps, and even adapting their hunting times to avoid human activity. Diverse diet. The coywolf can eat everything from deer to rodents, plants, and even human garbage, making it one of the most adaptable predators in North America. 3. Climate resilience and habitat expansion. One of the biggest advantages hybrid animals have is their ability to survive in different climates. As temperatures rise and habitats change, purebred species that rely on specific conditions may struggle, while hybrids that can tolerate a wider range of temperatures and food sources may flourish. Red fox and Arctic fox hybrids. The Arctic fox is built for extreme cold, with thick fur and a compact body that conserves heat. The red fox, however, is larger and better suited to warmer temperatures. Hybrids between the two may develop fur coats that allow them to survive in both cold and mild environments, giving them an advantage as the Arctic warms. Narluga, narwhal-beluga hybrid. These marine hybrids inherit traits that help them thrive in both deep and shallow Arctic waters. Narwhals typically live in deep, icy waters, while belugas are more social and prefer coastal areas. Narluga hybrids might be able to survive both deep-sea and nearshore conditions, giving them a wider range of habitats. 4. Increased aggressiveness and dominance. Some hybrid animals inherit aggressive or dominant traits from one parent species, making them stronger competitors in the wild. This can lead to them pushing out pure species or taking over ecosystems. Grolar bears. Unlike polar bears, which are specialized hunters that rely on sea ice, Grolar bears have been observed hunting more aggressively and chasing other predators away from food sources. Their blend of endurance from polar bears and strength from grizzlies makes them fearsome competitors. Red fox Arctic fox hybrids. Red foxes are naturally more dominant and territorial than Arctic foxes. As hybrids inherit some of these traits, they may begin outcompeting Arctic foxes for food and breeding territory, reducing Arctic fox populations over time. 5. Faster evolution and natural selection. One of the biggest concerns for wildlife conservationists is that many species do not have enough time to adapt to rapid climate change. However, hybridization accelerates the process of natural selection, allowing animals to evolve quickly and survive in new conditions. When two species interbreed, their offspring immediately inherit genetic advantages that could take thousands of years to develop through natural evolution. If hybrids survive better than pure species, they can pass their superior genes on to future generations, creating populations that are more resistant to environmental threats. This could mean that hybrid animals become the dominant species of the future, replacing pure species that cannot keep up with the fast-changing world. The future of hybrid animals. As climate change continues to alter habitats, the survival advantages of hybrid animals may allow them to outcompete their parent species. Their ability to adapt, hunt smarter, and thrive in a variety of environments suggests that hybrids could soon become the new rulers of the North. As hybrid animals become more common in northern regions, they bring with them an unintended consequence: the gradual decline and possible extinction of purebred species. For thousands of years, species like polar bears, Arctic foxes, and wolves have thrived in their unique environments, evolving specific traits that help them survive in harsh conditions. However, as climate change disrupts ecosystems, these animals now face competition, genetic dilution, and habitat loss, all of which threaten their existence. Hybridization, while beneficial for some species, may accelerate the decline of others, leading to a world where hybrids replace the animals that once dominated the North. 1. Competition for resources. One of the biggest threats to purebred species is that hybrid animals often outcompete them for food, shelter, and territory. Hybrids tend to inherit survival advantages from both parent species, making them stronger, smarter, or more adaptable. As a result, they can push pure species out of their traditional habitats, forcing them into smaller areas where survival becomes difficult. Arctic fox versus red fox hybrids. Arctic foxes are well adapted to freezing temperatures, but as the climate warms, red foxes are moving northward. Red foxes are larger, more aggressive, and better at hunting a variety of prey. In areas where the two species overlap, red foxes often take over Arctic fox dens, leaving them with fewer safe places to breed and raise their young. Over time, this can lead to a sharp decline in Arctic fox populations. Grolar bears versus polar bears. Grolar bears, grizzly bears, have traits from both grizzly and polar bears, making them more adaptable to a changing climate. While polar bears rely almost entirely on sea ice to hunt seals, Grolar bears can forage on land and hunt a variety of prey. This gives them an advantage as the Arctic ice melts, allowing them to survive in conditions where polar bears struggle. As a result, Grolar bears may eventually replace pure polar bears, leading to a decline in the world's largest land predator. 2. Genetic dilution and loss of unique traits. Hybridization doesn't just create stronger animals, it can also erase the genetic identity of pure species. When two species interbreed, their offspring may no longer resemble either parent completely. If hybridization continues over multiple generations, the original species may disappear entirely, replaced by a mixed population that carries different traits. Coywolves replacing wolves and coyotes. The rise of coywolves, coyote-wolf hybrids, is a perfect example of how hybridization can lead to the decline of pure species. Wolves were once dominant predators in North America, but as human expansion reduced their numbers, they began interbreeding with coyotes. Over time, this has led to the decline of purebred wolves as more hybrid coywolves populate the landscape. Since coywolves are smaller and less specialized than wolves, this could permanently alter predator-prey relationships in many ecosystems. Narwhal-beluga hybrid, Narluga, threatens narwhal purity. Narwhals are famous for their long, spiral tusks, a unique evolutionary trait. However, as beluga whales and narwhals interbreed, their hybrid offspring often lack the distinctive tusk, changing the appearance and hunting methods of future populations. If narwhals continue to breed with belugas, their genetic identity could be lost, potentially leading to the disappearance of true narwhals. 3. Habitat loss and forced hybridization. Climate change is not only shifting animal territories but also forcing species to interbreed as they struggle to survive. Many pure species are adapted to specific environments that are rapidly disappearing. When animals are left with no choice but to live in overlapping habitats, hybridization becomes inevitable. Polar bears losing their ice habitat. Polar bears evolved to hunt seals on sea ice, a strategy that allowed them to survive in the Arctic for thousands of years. However, as global temperatures rise, ice sheets are melting at alarming rates, forcing polar bears to spend more time on land. This increases their contact with grizzly bears, making hybridization more likely. The more Grolar bears that are born, the fewer pure polar bears will exist in future generations. Forests expanding into tundra. In many northern regions, warming temperatures are causing forests to spread into tundra areas, altering the ecosystem. This allows forest-dwelling animals like red foxes, moose, and deer to move north, where they encounter tundra species. This not only leads to hybridization, but also puts additional pressure on pure tundra species, which may struggle to compete with newcomers. 4. The risk of hybrid fragility. While many hybrids inherit advantages from both parent species, some suffer from genetic weaknesses that put them at risk. This means that even if hybrids replace pure species, they may not be as stable or long-lived. Sterility issues. Some hybrids are sterile, meaning they cannot reproduce. If hybridization continues at a rapid rate, this could reduce the overall number of viable offspring, leading to population declines. Weakened survival traits. Not all hybrids are stronger than their parent species. Some may inherit less effective adaptations, making them more vulnerable to disease, climate changes, or predators. For example, if a red fox-Arctic fox hybrid has thin fur but lives in a cold region, it may struggle to survive. Loss of specialized skills. Many pure species have specific skills that help them survive, such as the polar bear's ability to hunt seals or the Arctic fox's camouflage in snowy environments. If hybridization replaces these species with animals that lack these skills, entire ecosystems could be disrupted. 5. Conservation challenges and uncertain future. The rise of hybrid animals creates new challenges for conservation efforts. Most conservation programs are designed to protect pure species, but hybridization complicates this approach. If hybrids continue to spread, conservationists will have to decide whether to protect hybrids as new species or focus on preserving the original species, even if it means interfering with natural selection. Should Grolar bears be protected? If Grolar bears become more common, should they be protected as a new species, or should efforts focus on saving polar bears? Are coywolves a conservation success or a problem? Some experts argue that the rise of coywolves is a sign of adaptation, while others believe they are a threat to pure wolf populations. Conclusion. As hybrid animals continue to increase in number, the decline of pure species may become an unavoidable reality. Whether through competition, genetic dilution, or habitat loss, the rise of hybrids is reshaping northern ecosystems in ways that could be permanent and irreversible. The future of wildlife in the north will depend on how these changes unfold and whether conservation efforts can adapt to this new reality. Climate change is one of the most significant drivers of hybridization in the animal kingdom, particularly in the northern regions of the world. As global temperatures rise, Arctic ice melts, and seasonal patterns shift, many species are being forced to migrate beyond their traditional habitats. This movement brings them into contact with species they would not have encountered in the past, increasing the likelihood of interbreeding. The rapid pace of climate change is not just altering landscapes, it is reshaping the genetic makeup of northern wildlife. Unlike natural hybridization, which has occurred over thousands or even millions of years, climate change is accelerating the process at an unprecedented rate. Species that were once separated by vast distances or harsh environments are now sharing the same spaces, leading to an increase in hybrid animals that may permanently alter ecosystems. This raises important questions. Will hybrid animals replace their parent species? Are they better suited for the future? And what happens when pure species can no longer survive in their native environments? 1. Rising temperatures and changing animal behavior. One of the most direct effects of climate change is the rise in global temperatures, which is altering animal behavior, migration patterns, and even breeding seasons. Warmer temperatures affect northern species in several key ways. Earlier mating seasons. Many animals time their mating seasons based on seasonal changes, such as temperature and food availability. As climate change disrupts these patterns, some species are mating earlier or later than usual, increasing the chances of encountering different species and hybridizing. Increased range expansion. Animals that once lived in distinct, separate habitats are now moving into overlapping areas. Grizzly bears are traveling farther north, Red foxes are invading Arctic fox territories, and beluga whales are venturing into narwhal waters. This forced mixing leads to more frequent hybridization. Loss of traditional hunting grounds. Polar bears, for example, rely on sea ice to hunt seals. As ice melts, they're spending more time on land, where they encounter and breed with grizzly bears, leading to the rise of Grolar bears. 2. Melting Arctic ice and its consequences. The Arctic is warming 4 times faster than the rest of the planet, leading to dramatic changes in ice coverage. The loss of Arctic ice has profound consequences for wildlife, forcing species that depend on icy habitats to adapt, migrate, or risk extinction. Polar bears forced inland. Traditionally, polar bears have lived almost entirely on the sea ice, using it as a platform to hunt for seals. However, with ice melting earlier in the year and forming later, many polar bears are forced onto land for longer periods. This increases their encounters with grizzly bears, leading to hybridization. Marine life mixing in new ways. The loss of sea ice is also affecting marine animals. Narwhals and belugas, which once had distinct territories, are now being forced into the same waters. As their ranges overlap, hybridization is becoming more common, resulting in Narluga hybrids with traits from both species. 3. Disruption of food chains and hybrid survival advantages. Climate change is altering food availability in the north, which has a domino effect on animal behavior, diet, and competition. Hybrids, which often inherit broader dietary flexibility, may have a better chance of survival than their purebred counterparts. Grolar bears as versatile hunters. Polar bears rely heavily on seals, while grizzly bears have a more varied diet, including fish, berries, and small mammals. Grolar bears can survive on both diets, giving them an advantage in warming climates where seal populations are declining. Coywolves thriving in urban and wild environments. Coywolves, coyote-wolf hybrids, have become highly adaptable predators. While wolves prefer deep forests and coyotes can survive near human settlements, coywolves thrive in both environments, giving them a significant survival advantage. 4. Forest expansion into the tundra. Another major consequence of climate change is that warmer temperatures are allowing forests to spread northward into areas that were once frozen tundra. This shift in landscape is bringing new species into Arctic ecosystems, leading to more hybridization. Red foxes replacing Arctic foxes. The red fox, which prefers wooded areas, is now moving into Arctic fox habitats due to forest expansion. Red foxes are larger, more aggressive, and better at hunting in these new environments, making it harder for Arctic foxes to compete. This has led to the emergence of hybrid foxes, which may eventually replace pure Arctic foxes. Moose and caribou interactions. As forests move north, moose are expanding into regions traditionally occupied by caribou. This increased contact raises the possibility of hybridization between these species, potentially altering the population dynamics of northern herbivores. 5. Extreme weather events and forced adaptation. Climate change is not just warming the planet, it is also increasing the frequency of extreme weather events, such as heat waves, storms, and unseasonal temperature shifts. These events disrupt migration patterns, kill off food sources, and force animals to relocate, leading to increased encounters between species that would not normally interact. Changing ocean currents affecting marine life. Warming waters are altering fish migration patterns, which in turn affects the movement of marine predators like seals, whales, and seabirds. This disruption increases the chances of hybridization among marine animals, such as the narwhal-beluga hybrid, Narluga. Drought and resource scarcity leading to hybridization. In land-based ecosystems, droughts and wildfires are destroying habitats, forcing animals to move to new areas in search of food and water. This movement increases the likelihood of interbreeding between species that were previously isolated. 6. The unpredictability of hybridization in a changing climate. While some hybrids may thrive in the new climate, others may struggle to survive, leading to unpredictable changes in ecosystems. Not all hybrids are better adapted. Some may inherit weaknesses from both parents, making them less fit for survival. Sterility in certain hybrids. Some hybrid animals like mules, a horse-donkey hybrid, are sterile and cannot reproduce. If climate-induced hybridization produces more sterile offspring, it could lead to population declines rather than survival advantages. Loss of specialized traits. Many northern species have evolved unique adaptations, such as the narwhal's tusk for deep-sea navigation or the Arctic fox's winter camouflage. Hybridization could dilute these traits, leading to animals that are less suited for extreme environments. 7. The future of northern ecosystems. The impact of climate change on hybridization is still unfolding, and scientists are only beginning to understand its long-term consequences. However, one thing is clear. The wildlife of the North is undergoing a transformation that could be irreversible. As species interbreed, compete, and adapt, the ecosystems of the Arctic and northern forests will look very different in the coming decades. While climate change plays a significant role in driving hybridization, human activity is accelerating this process even further. Deforestation, urban expansion, industrialization, hunting, and pollution are pushing species into closer contact with each other, often forcing them to share habitats and resources they never encountered before. As a result, species that were once geographically or behaviorally separated are now interbreeding at an increasing rate. Human influence on wildlife is not a recent phenomenon, but the speed at which we are reshaping ecosystems is unprecedented. From introducing invasive species to fragmenting habitats, human activity is directly responsible for many of the environmental pressures that drive animals to hybridize. The result is a world where hybrids are not only becoming more common but may soon replace pure species entirely. 1. Habitat destruction and forced coexistence. One of the biggest ways humans accelerate hybridization is through deforestation, agriculture, and urban expansion, which destroy or fragment natural habitats. When an animal's native habitat disappears, it is forced to migrate and adapt, often leading to encounters with closely related species. Expanding cities and roads. As cities grow and highways cut through forests and tundra, wildlife corridors become fragmented. This forces animals that would have remained separate to share the same shrinking spaces, increasing the chances of interbreeding. Loss of Arctic ice and industrial expansion. The melting Arctic is not just a result of climate change. It is also being exploited for oil drilling, mining, and shipping routes. These industries further disrupt polar bear and grizzly bear territories, bringing them into more frequent contact and increasing hybridization. Deforestation pushing predators together. Large predators like wolves and coyotes used to occupy distinct environments, but deforestation has blurred these boundaries. As forests shrink, coyotes and wolves are now competing for the same land, leading to the rise of coywolves. 2. Invasive species introduced by humans. Humans have accidentally, and sometimes intentionally, introduced new species to ecosystems where they do not naturally belong. This introduction often leads to competition, hybridization, and even the eventual decline of native species. The spread of red foxes into Arctic fox territory. Red foxes were historically limited to warmer, forested regions. However, due to human-driven climate change and habitat modifications, they are moving northward into Arctic fox habitats. Since red foxes are larger and more dominant, they are outcompeting Arctic foxes and producing hybrids that may eventually replace them. Hybrid big cats, due to human captivity. While not occurring in the wild, human interference has led to hybridization among big cats, such as ligers, lion-tiger hybrids, and leopons, leopard-lion hybrids. These hybrids do not exist naturally, but they demonstrate how human influence can force unnatural hybridization, which could one day occur more frequently in the wild due to human-induced environmental changes. 3. Hunting and population imbalances. Human hunting practices have also contributed to hybridization by reducing certain animal populations, creating an imbalance that forces surviving individuals to mate with closely related species. This has happened in multiple ways. Eliminating alpha predators, allowing hybridization. Wolves were once dominant in North America, but due to centuries of hunting, their numbers dwindled. With fewer pure wolves available to mate, the remaining population began interbreeding with coyotes, resulting in the modern coywolf. Selective hunting alters natural breeding patterns. In some regions, trophy hunting targets large, healthy males from a species, such as deer or big cats. This reduces the available mating pool, sometimes leading to hybridization with other similar species. 4. Pollution and genetic mutations. Another way human activity accelerates hybridization is through pollution, chemical exposure, and environmental toxins, which can cause genetic mutations or disrupt reproductive patterns. Industrial pollution affects marine hybridization. Chemicals dumped into the ocean can interfere with the reproductive systems of marine animals. This has been observed in some whale populations, where exposure to pollutants may be influencing the rise of narwhal-beluga hybrids. Light and noise pollution affect mating signals. Many animals rely on visual and auditory signals to find mates. Urban expansion and human-made noise disrupt these signals, making it harder for some species to find suitable partners, which can increase the chances of mating with a different species instead. 5. Domestication and artificial hybridization. Humans have also intentionally created hybrids through selective breeding, which has altered animal genetics over time. While this is more common in domestic species, it demonstrates how human intervention has played a role in changing the course of animal evolution. Coywolves thriving in urban areas, the coyote-wolf hybrid, coywolf, is an example of human-driven hybridization. As humans altered the landscape, reducing wolf populations and creating fragmented forests, coyotes and wolves began breeding, forming a hybrid species that is now highly successful in North America. Hybrid dogs and wolves. Humans have bred wolf-dog hybrids, which are now found in the wild due to escaped or abandoned animals. These hybrids exhibit unpredictable behavior and sometimes threaten local ecosystems, showing how human influence extends even into wildlife genetics. 6. The role of zoos and conservation breeding programs. In some cases, human conservation efforts have accidentally encouraged hybridization while attempting to save endangered species. Breeding programs designed to increase population numbers sometimes lead to mixing between closely related species, raising ethical and biological concerns. Captive breeding of big cats. Zoos and wildlife parks have sometimes bred lions with tigers, ligers, or jaguars with leopards, jaglions. While these hybrids are not found in the wild, the fact that they are possible raises concerns about whether conservation efforts should focus on preserving peer species or allowing hybrids to evolve naturally. Reintroduction of hybrid populations. In some conservation programs, hybrid animals have been released into the wild, sometimes unintentionally affecting natural ecosystems. This has been observed in wolf conservation programs, where some reintroduced populations contain traces of coyote or domestic dog DNA. 7. Ethical and conservation dilemmas. With human activity accelerating hybridization, scientists and conservationists are facing difficult ethical questions. Should hybrids be protected just like pure species? Should humans intervene to prevent hybridization? Or should nature be allowed to take its course, even if it means the loss of pure species? Should Grolar bears be protected? If Grolar bears become the dominant bear species in the Arctic, should they receive the same conservation efforts as polar bears, or should humans try to prevent further hybridization? Can conservation stop hybridization? With human activity driving hybridization at an unnatural pace, some scientists are debating whether selective breeding programs should be used to preserve pure species, or whether it is too late to stop the process. One of the most fascinating aspects of hybrid animals is the way they inherit traits from both parent species. In some cases, hybridization leads to stronger, more adaptable offspring, giving them a survival advantage in changing environments. In other cases, however, hybrid animals suffer from genetic weaknesses, sterility, or reduced fitness, making it harder for them to survive and reproduce. Understanding the genetic benefits and risks of hybridization is crucial, especially as the northern regions of the world experience rapid environmental changes. With rising temperatures, shifting ecosystems, and human activity accelerating hybridization, the question remains, will hybrid animals be the future survivors of the North, or will they struggle to establish stable populations? 1. Hybrid vigor. The strengths of hybrid animals. One of the biggest arguments in favor of hybrid animals is the concept of hybrid vigor, also called heterosis. This occurs when hybrid offspring inherit the strongest traits from both parent species, making them more resilient, adaptable, and better suited to survive in new environments. Grolar bears, a blend of strength and adaptability. The Grolar bear, a hybrid between a polar bear and a grizzly bear, has inherited polar bear endurance for long-distance swimming and grizzly bear adaptability for hunting on land. With Arctic ice melting, Grolar bears may have an advantage over pure polar bears, as they can survive in both land and sea environments. Coywolves, intelligent and highly adaptable. Coywolves, coyote-wolf hybrids, have combined the intelligence and social structure of wolves with the urban survival skills of coyotes. This has allowed them to thrive in environments where neither pure coyotes nor wolves would have succeeded on their own. Narlugas, potential advantages in changing oceans. The narwhal-beluga hybrid, Narluga, has inherited the sonar abilities of belugas and the deep diving skills of narwhals, making them potentially better suited to a changing Arctic Ocean. 2. Increased genetic diversity and disease resistance. Another advantage of hybridization is increased genetic diversity, which can lead to better immunity against diseases and environmental pressures. Pure species, especially those with small populations, often suffer from inbreeding, which makes them more vulnerable to genetic disorders. Hybrid animals, on the other hand, may develop stronger immune systems due to their mixed genetic backgrounds. Wolves and coyotes avoiding inbreeding. Small, isolated wolf populations can suffer from genetic defects due to inbreeding. By interbreeding with coyotes, wolf genes are being refreshed, potentially strengthening the overall health of the population. Polar bears at risk of inbreeding. As polar bear populations decline due to climate change, inbreeding becomes a greater threat. Hybridization with grizzly bears may help introduce genetic diversity that could make future generations more resilient. 3. Hybrid disadvantages, weaknesses, and sterility. Despite the advantages, not all hybrids are successful. Some hybrids inherit conflicting traits from their parents, making them less capable of surviving in the wild. Others face reproductive challenges, including partial or complete sterility, which prevents them from passing on their genes. Sterile hybrids. The mule example. One of the most famous examples of hybrid sterility is the mule, a hybrid between a horse and a donkey. Mules are stronger and more resilient than either parent, but they are almost always sterile, meaning they cannot reproduce. Grolar bears may be at a disadvantage. While Grolar bears have inherited traits from both parent species, some scientists worry that they may be less suited to Arctic life than pure polar bears. For example, their fur is not as well adapted to extreme cold, making them more vulnerable in harsh winters. Hybrid fish struggling to survive. In some cases, hybrid fish produced from different species struggle to find food or mate successfully, leading to population decline rather than survival advantages. 4. Loss of specialized traits. Another major disadvantage of hybridization is that some hybrids lose the specialized traits that made their parent species unique and successful in their own environments. While hybrids may be more adaptable in general, they sometimes lack the finely tuned survival skills needed to thrive in extreme conditions. Narwhal-beluga hybrids missing narwhal tusks. The narwhal's tusk is a highly specialized evolutionary trait that helps with navigation and communication. Narluga hybrids often lack a tusk, which could put them at a disadvantage in the Arctic. Arctic fox and red fox hybrids losing camouflage. The Arctic fox is perfectly adapted to its icy environment with a white winter coat, while red foxes blend into forest landscapes. A hybrid may end up with a mixed coat that does not provide effective camouflage, making it more vulnerable to predators. 5. Competition between hybrids and pure species. Hybrid animals do not always coexist peacefully with their parent species. In some cases, they outcompete and replace pure species, leading to a shift in the ecosystem. In other cases, hybrids are seen as weaker, and they struggle to establish stable populations. Coywolves replacing wolves in some areas. Since coywolves are more adaptable than pure wolves, they have started to take over habitats where wolves once dominated. This shift could lead to a decline in traditional wolf populations. Hybrid bears struggling to find a niche. Grolar bears are not as strong as pure grizzlies on land, nor as specialized as polar bears in the water. This means they might struggle to compete against both parent species, potentially leading to their decline. 6. Evolutionary uncertainty. Are hybrids a passing phase or the future? One of the biggest questions about hybrid animals is whether they represent a temporary phase in evolution or whether they are here to stay. Some hybrids may eventually replace their parent species, while others may disappear if they fail to reproduce successfully. Are we witnessing the birth of new species? Over long periods, some hybrids may become a completely new species. For example, early humans interbred with Neanderthals, and some of their genes still exist in modern humans today. Could hybrid animals like Grolar bears or coywolves eventually become a new dominant species in the north? Will hybridization fade away? If environmental conditions shift again, hybrid animals may struggle to survive. Without strong reproductive success, many hybrids could disappear within a few generations. 7. Human intervention. Should we help or let nature decide? With hybridization happening at an increasing rate, some scientists are debating whether humans should intervene. Should conservationists try to prevent hybridization to protect pure species, or should we let natural selection determine the fate of hybrids? Protecting pure species from hybridization, some conservationists argue that hybridization is a threat to biodiversity. If hybrids replace pure species, unique evolutionary lineages could be lost forever. Letting hybrids evolve naturally. Others argue that hybridization is simply nature's way of adapting to change, and we should not interfere. They believe that if hybrids are better suited to survival, then they deserve to thrive in the new environment.